Welcome to episode 111, an important episode in the history of Mind Power Meets Mystic. This is Michelle Walters. I am our show Mind Power. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm joined by my partner on the show host. She is Cynthia Varkevisser. She is our show's mystic and intuitive reader. So, this is the week of the election in the United States. And there's a lot of apprehension, I think that's probably putting it mildly, around what's going to happen with the election this year. And this year's election is the the presidential election of Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. And Cynthia and I are both concerned about it. Concerned about how it will go, concerned about who wins, concerned about how people take the news. And so we thought it would be helpful for our listeners to put together a few themes to help with the election and even the aftermath around three thoughts, those thoughts being positivity, peace, and prayer. Cynthia, do you want to add anything before we get started?
Yeah, I want to be really honest. And yes, we're doing this for our listeners. We're also doing it for ourselves. The thing that was very clear to us when you brought it up as a topic, Michelle, is that it's time to really talk about what's near and dear to our heart. And yes, healing others is important. This is healing on a bigger scale and really reaching out and practicing what we preach. So it's the walking the talk. And I love that you and I are ready to walk our talk on this episode number 111.
Exactly. Walk our Talk, episode 111. Here we go. So, our first one is we wanted to talk a little bit about positivity. Positivity has been shown to be a wonderful shield to all kinds of feeling uncertain or feeling afraid or feeling in a bad place. And so, we each thought of a great super tip for how to stay positive in this period of time. So, my positive tip is that I am going to spend time in the next few weeks being especially grateful for nature. Whatever happens with the election, the sun will rise, the moon will set, the seasons will change, and I love nature. And I'm sure many, many of our listeners find nature to be beautiful and transformative as well. So, one of the things you can do if you are experiencing stress or concern or apprehension about the election, don't think about that. Spend a moment noticing a pretty rock or the turning leaves on a tree. Be grateful for nature. What do you have, Cynthia?
When we're talking about positivity, we're talking about health. We're not talking about having these rose-colored glasses on. It's about really digging deep and finding this space and getting out of anxiety and despair for either way, right? For whomever gets elected. So my thing of positivity is always about connection. So what are the three things that I have in common of the person in front of me? If I can look at the person in front of me, then I can look at other people, and then I can think from local to global, or at least from coast to coast. So I think about the three things that I have in common. And I will say that I am voting for Kamala Harris. I'm just going to say that. And I know so
She's
many
our
people.
hometown girl.
Exactly. And she has a lot of things that I believe in. She really resonates with me. And I have family members and loved ones that are not voting for her. And I want to remember all the things that we have in common. So I will even go to Trump, which I just said to you before this episode. I can even find three things in common with Trump. One is we are human beings. And I will say, just like I said to you, we need to eat, drink, shit, sleep, and breathe. So we are of the same
We're human, both
species.
of you.
We are
Yep.
human. He has a family. I have a family. I'm very protective of my family. He looks like he is very protective of his family. I can respect that, right? Everything else beyond that, that part doesn't matter. And then the third is that he has a belief system and I have a belief system. And I don't have to, I respect anybody that has a belief system that they can articulate. I don't have to respect what it is that they believe, but I do respect that they actually have a belief system. So that's my positivity. Once I can connect with these people in a certain way, it's not a fear of you against me. It's about here are things that we have in common. And now let's see if I can work with you. And if not, that's awesome. I'm going to find all the people that I can work with me to do the things that are important for me.
I love it. So, positivity was number one. The second thing we wanted to talk about was a little bit about peace. What can we do to help maintain the peace? And what I'm going to do to help maintain the peace is that I am not going to get in the fight. I don't see a lot of upside for me in sticking my nose in things. And I also believe I've read some studies and that sort of a thing that have talked about just how valuable being courteous can be. So, remembering to say please, remembering to say thank you, being courteous and respectful of other people has been shown to be really helpful to setting a tone of peace. And I think that is going to be essential for us in America over the coming weeks and potentially a few months.
I agree. And I love that you're talking about politeness. I believe peace is not passive. And so peace requires actions. And the actions don't have to be aggressive. So we can promote kindness. I believe, in martial arts, it's not about fighting, it's about avoiding the fight. So to take a look, and then of course fighting when we absolutely have to. And then when we think about fighting, it's can we walk away before engage, engage before we maim, maim before we hurt, hurt before we kill. So it's not about going straight to the aggression. It's really about what is the right action. So promote kindness, open the door for people, talk about your appreciations, let people know when they are doing something really well. Have these talks to promote well-being of others and really look at the people in front of you and say, if I can be of service, how can I be of service? And if I can't be of service, can I be a resource? And if I can't be either one of those, how can I take care of myself so that the next person that I see coming down the road, I can be of service to? So that's what
I
I
love it.
believe is peace.
I love it. I want to remind all of our listeners that they are listening to Mind Power Meets Mystic with me, Michelle Walters, and Cynthia Varkvister, my podcast pal. Our last topic for this special episode 111 is prayer. Now, Cynthia and I have both acknowledged that we're not big prayers, particularly, but in the sense that prayer is about setting intention, I think we are both very big on the intention setting side of things. So, like many of our listeners, and particularly this time of year, because it is just about the time of All Saints Day, All Souls Day, and Dia de los Muertos and ofrendas and that sort of a thing, it's a nice time to make or build or revive a home altar. And on my little altar that I have in my house, I am going to switch it up this week and put a nice little circle of stones. And the circle of stones to me is going to represent unity and coming together and the idea of being, people with arms around each other. And I just think that that image, that idea is really important and essential, that that is where I want to put intention. I want to focus more on what can we do when we work together as opposed to what can we do when we are divided. This nation really came together. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of different religions and people and all kinds of stuff. And no, we haven't done it all right. We've made a lot of stupid and awful and mean mistakes along the way. But I think it's important that we try and be present and look at today and tomorrow and not overemphasize the past as we look to being a nation of unity and growth and doing right by humanity and our planet. Cynthia,
I agree.
what do
I
you
agree.
want to do?
Well, I have a partner, Dee, who has Mexican heritage. So we will have ofrenda. And I can't believe I can't say it well, but an ofrenda. And I'm going to ask that we keep it up longer because I really want our ancestors to be with us as we walk through this important time in our lives. So keeping it fresh and keeping it sacred. That's the first thing I'd like to do. The second thing is I do well. First, let me make an admission. I play fantasy football and I was joking around and I said I made an intention that I was going to beat the person who was undefeated that I was happening to go head to head with. And it was a fuck around and I happened to have won. So I know that I didn't use it for good and that it wasn't altruistic. And yes, intention and prayer does work. But let's get serious. So before every reading or coaching or thing that I do, I learn from my Swami Mami Kani this prayer. And um, I don't say it with as much reverence as I have in the past because I know that I can connect to the source much more quickly and it's like a step of the ritual. But I'd like to share it now if it's all right with you, Michelle.
Yes.
And then people use your own words, but this is such a great thing, which is, I ask for the divine light of love and compassion. I ask for the divine light of perfect health and protection. I ask for this protection to fill and surround me. I ask for the highest amount of service for those that I love and those that are before me. I also ask for the highest reading for myself so that I may be my best self when I offer myself to the other person. And I do this for the highest and best good. That
I think
is the
that's
prayer.
absolutely beautiful. And thank you for sharing that with our listeners.
Thank you. So I believe I feel better knowing that we have things in our pockets and our purses that can help this be a very special time or a way to alleviate some some stress
From
and fear.
stress or anxiety whatever happens, there will be a change, right?
Right, right,
Whatever happens, it's a new administration coming, and thank God we have had a peaceful transfer of power. I putting my confidence that that will continue. Um, but it's a time of change coming up, and so we wanted to encourage our listeners to think about positivity and peace and prayer and how to be taking care of yourself and those around you and showing compassion for everyone in this time of transition and change.
right. And we celebrate being different. I love being different. Sometimes it's scary to be different. I love celebrating everyone else's uniqueness. And it's time to also remember how much we have in common and that there's always something that can be done. So do things that are good for you, that are good for others as well. That's pretty much today, tomorrow, after the voting, regardless of how it happens. We are extremely powerful beings and we can do so many good things.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. If this has been helpful for you, please consider sharing it with a friend. We'd love for this message to expand and for more and more people to be touched by our voices, our guests, our messages, and our podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.